Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Onepeg. In this video, I get an opportunity to be able to show you an early beta access preview that was given to media folks like myself on all things related to Dune Awakening. But unlike most people that are making videos about this type of content that got access to this build, I actually have a considerable amount of experience in this game because I've been playing it since about a year ago when I got invited to a closed beta test. That has since expanded considerably, and given the amount of experience that I have playing through this game, I want to guide you through the early parts of the game to give you an idea of what you can do to help your gameplay become a little bit more efficient, give you some tips, things to look out for, and ideas to follow and why they're a good idea. However, I do need to disclose to all of you that this video is being sponsored by the folks over at Funcom. They compensated me to make this video for all of you, and I was happy to oblige when they offered. The game is coming out on June 10th with an early access ability for people that want to do that by pre-ordering the game over on Steam, which is available now if you want to do that, for people that purchase the deluxe or ultimate editions of the game, getting a 5-day head start to start on June 5th. For those of you that may still be on the fence about pre-ordering the game, and I don't blame you, there is going to be a beta test. On May 9th, from May 9th to May 12th, there is going to be an Act 1 beta preview available to just about everyone. There's one of 3 ways that you can participate in this, and there will be hundreds of thousands of people let in to test this, by the way. The first is to join the official Funcom stream on May 10th, where you can get a beta key that way. The second is to sign up for the beta on the Funcom website, and the third is to wishlist the game on Steam. Now, unlike most live service games like this that get released onto Steam nowadays, this game is actually being released as a full release 1.0 title. It is not being released as early access, and it looks like it. There is an awful lot of polish to this beta build that I'm about to show you, much more so than what I had been playing as a tester for the last year. All that being said, I do want to make sure that you guys understand I am going to try and keep this as spoiler-free as I possibly can. I skip a lot of cutscenes, I try to get past certain pieces and parts, and I try to hide all of that away from you that really want to experience the game, with a focus on more of the core gameplay and just some tips and what to look out for and best practices if you want to think about it that way. I will definitely be diving into this game with both feet, and I'm going to try to develop a lot of educational content around Dune, given my not-for-nothing vast amount of experience that I'll be able to bring to the table for all of you that will be interested in learning more about how to get through this kind of stuff as quickly as possible. Anyway, on to the video. Hey, what's up everybody? My name is Onepeg. So in this video, we're going to be talking about Dune Awakening. I have a preview that I'm going to be able to share with you through the first 20 to 25 hours worth of content for Dune Awakening that the devs have been gracious enough to let me show you exclusively. Now, I have a considerable amount of time in this game. I've actually been beta testing this for about a year now, being added a while ago for a closed beta test that wasn't just for content creators, but was for an awful lot of folks. And through the different iterations, I've been able to spend hundreds of hours playtesting this through all of the different phases, but the focus of this is going to be on the early part of the game. So I'm going to show you 3 of the game's zones, progress throughout the course of the earlier part into the early mid-game of Dune Awakening, things to look out for, and ways that you can maximize your time. Obviously, first, we have to create a character. Now, I personally have never been huge on character creation systems, but as character creators go, this one actually feels like it's a little bit in-depth. There's an awful lot of different details, and even down to the eye angle sclera tint. You know, you can tint the sclera of your eye a bit. Nose details with all the different sliders. Mouth details. Skin blemishes that you can make more or less prominent. Skin redness. Dark circles under somebody's eyes, and the list goes on and on. Yeah, this guy looks pretty good, and we'll name him me, why not? In order to avoid spoilers, I'm just going to kind of skip past this part so that you guys could experience the entry points of this game and how you can shape your character at the very beginning all for yourselves. Now, through the character creation screens, you can choose where you've come from, whether or not you're nobility or a bondsman and whatnot, and there's also the ability to choose your starting class. Now, in my case, I'm going to choose Bene Gesserit for a very specific reason, and I will show you why in a minute. Now, because I've played this before, I opted not to do the opening tutorial. I would highly suggest, if you are new to Dune, and most of you will be by the time that you end up seeing this video, that you do the tutorial on the game start. It will help you understand an awful lot of the mechanics. I'm going to kind of like blitz through them a little bit to give you an idea of how the mechanics work, but for the most part, you guys want to definitely do the tutorial if you can. So the story of Dune is one in which Paul Atreides was never born. This is like an alternate future for Dune and the planet of Arrakis, and you arrive here as somebody that is supposed to find out what happened to the Fremen, that for all intents and purposes are extinct. From a survival standpoint, you have to work with the water gauge. Everything on Arrakis comes down to water and spice. In the case of water, you definitely need that to survive. And the water gauge over on the left will tell you whether or not you're going to dehydrate and die. Or not, right? Or not. The tutorial of the game leads you through making bandages, healing yourself by pressing a hotkey. It shows you how to climb, teaches you about what happens if you stay in the sun too long, teaches you how to mine, and teaches you how to do melee combat. Perfect blocks or parries in this game are paramount, especially if you are fighting with a knife. And there is a Swordmaster class that lets you do primarily that. And if you're familiar at all with Conan Exiles, you have the ability to roll through or dodge through different obstacles, obviously using your stamina gauge. Get a couple of drinks of water, and this teaches you about the slow blade. So there are energy shields for your enemies. You need to be able to not only parry them, but then hold left click and slow attack them through the shield. Otherwise, they won't register damage. If you notice, this just staggers them, but it doesn't do any damage to them. So you have to get through it by holding. Pretty easy, right? Okay, now that we have to worry about Sandworm coming in, he's going to chomp this thing, and this is the first view that we get of the Sandworm. Now, I made sure to skip the cutscenes because I didn't want you guys to end up getting spoiled by those. They are worth watching, though. Hopefully, you guys will end up digging them. And then, obviously, now we have a sandstorm that we have to deal with, which is none too fun. And it teaches us about what the sandstorm does. If you notice, my health is slowly bleeding off. It's because we definitely don't want to be stuck in a sandstorm. We want to get out of the sandstorm and into the shade if we possibly can.
Fucking windy!
Now we're going to wait for the sandstorm to blow over. You notice on the map, it's just this big, angry cloud. Okay, now first things first. We definitely want to make a shelter. But before we can do that, we need to get materials. Before we can do that, we need to make some stuff that's going to end up keeping us alive. So the construction kit is going to get us moving, but we also need to get a gun. We need a pistol. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to grab the Mala pistol kit so we can make a Mala pistol. We'll grab a respawn beacon so that we can respawn someplace close in case we end up getting killed. And we'll grab some makeshift clothing once we get some new intel. First thing we're going to need, though, is, well, experience. One of the cool things about this game is you can get XP in a whole bunch of different ways. And personally, and I know that some people may disagree with me on this one, but personally, I enjoy the mining minigame. You can get an awful lot of cool stuff just from mining, especially when it comes to vehicles like this that are trashed. So a lot of times, these vehicles are things that you can mine just by hitting the hotspots and rescanning them and seeing where the next piece is. Notice I'm getting a lot of salvaged metal and also a thing called armor plating, which you don't typically see this early in the game, but since there's this old vehicle here that you can basically part up and scrap, it gives you a lot of nice stuff. Also, remember that we started off as a Bene Gesserit, right? So in the beginning, the first skill that we get is this thing called the voice. Now, Bene Gesserit has the ability to use the voice. If you ever read the books or know anything about any of the story of Dune, the Bene Gesserit can compel people. And the first skill that we get is a skill called Compel. If you look at the skills right here, this skill called Compel says you basically mesmerize somebody and call them to walk over toward you, kind of zombie-ish almost. But the thing that we want to unlock when we get our next level, when we finally get another skill point, is this, the Bindu Sprint. We call it BG Dash. And once I get it, I'll show you how it works. In the meantime, though, we're going to grab our knife and we're going to start messing up some people so that we can get some experience and some materials. Oh, and mining these for scrap, also a really good idea. Salvaged metal, something that you definitely want in the early game. The other thing that you definitely want in the early game are these things, fuel cells. Now, there are fuel cells around the map, all over the place, really, that you can mine and just grab fuel cells as you need them. But we're going to need those for power sources when we build our first generator for our base. Okay, so now I'm in Haga Basin South. You can see that like there's some map here that is still yet to be explored. Quite a bit, actually. We'll get to that in a minute. What I'm going to do at this point is I'm just going to start grabbing some materials. I'm going to mine up some rocks, some stone, and maybe get a couple of levels. And we'll fast forward to a point where I've got like a rudimentary base built so that you guys can see more of the base building. Okay, before I've even gotten to the point where we're able to build our base just yet, I do want to show you guys a couple of things. The first is the journey system. By pressing J, you can pull up all of these quest lines. Now, some of them you get from contracts, which I'll show you from the contract board that you can get at different places. There's also contracts that you can find from people as you travel through the world, and stuff that you can get contracts from by just picking things up off the ground sometimes. But this part here is kind of like the early portions. Now, you gain XP rewards as you do each step, and then you can get even items by finishing these and unlocks, even cosmetics later on in the game as you unlock things, which are kind of cool. Everybody likes the drip, right? But when you do these, because of the XP gain, you can get more skills. You get skill points when you level up. Also, research points, which are also very important. In this case, I'm grabbing Bindu Sprint, and this is our bread and butter skill for Bene Gesserit, for the simple reason of the following. When I press Q, you're going to see him warm up and then dash. You cover a lot of ground in a very short amount of time. This is huge, huge. I cannot stress enough how huge this is in the early game to be able to traverse areas in the desert when worms are around. You can get across areas of the desert really, really fast. Now, it goes right up until you run out of stamina. But if you notice, see how the worm is kind of messing around? You can see the little gauge there on the ground, right? That's the worm trying to see if it's going to come up on you from tremors that you're leaving in the earth. By using BG Dash, you can traverse a whole lot of area in a very short amount of time, minimizing the likelihood that the worm ends up getting you, which is very, very, very important. I should also mention here that in this game, if you get eaten by the worm, that is one of the only ways that you actually end up losing all of your stuff. See, in the traditional sense, if you end up dying in this game normally, you end up losing like a portion of your inventory and your gear ends up taking a little bit of durability damage. But you pretty much retain everything. If you get eaten by the worm, though, everything that you have on you is gone. It's basically donated to Shai Hulud in tribute, if you want to think about it that way. Not really worth, especially if you're trying to end up making some progress. The cooldown on BG Dash, by the way, is also pretty darn short, so it's kind of nice. Also, if you notice, when I discovered Dugap Gateway here, I also made like about 100 XP. Worth discovering just about every point that you possibly can. Anything that you see on the map that looks like, you know, a little gray circle, those are places that you haven't been yet. Each one of those that you visit will end up giving you experience. So if you want to level quick, I highly recommend Discovery XP. Works out really, really well. Also, highly recommend learning this, binoculars. You can make binoculars out of just a handful of salvaged metal, and they're kind of awesome. There's actually a camp right here across the way. The way that these work is by honing in on this. You can see how this suddenly turned into a gray circle, and then this over here also got marked. If I pull up the map now, it shows these points that I just was able to identify by using the binoculars. Again, something in the early game that's extremely valuable because you can start scanning for things that you otherwise wouldn't normally see on the map unless you ended up getting very close to them. Here's another one. Okay, now I'm going to fast forward to a point where we've got some stone and we can start building a base. Now we've made a Mala pistol, which strangely, easily enough, we can use to just shoot people in the face. Now in the early game, I actually prefer to just knife fight. It seems like it's a little bit easier, but I wanted to show you how the Mala pistol works. Later game, there's some better weapons than just this, but we'll get there in another video. Oh, hey, big dog. Okay, I've got some materials, and now it's time to build our base. We have to put down what's called a sub-fief console, basically land claim, if you want to think about it that way. But there is a hard and fast rule when it comes to building on Arrakis. The one hard and fast rule that cannot be violated. Never, ever, under any circumstance, ever, ever, ever build on the sand. Ever. I cannot stress this enough. A worm will come up and eat your stuff. Don't ever build on the sand. So once we place down the sub-fief console, essentially, we now own this nice little square. There are bigger consoles and bigger land claims that you can make later on in the game, but we're not talking about that right now. The next thing that we have to do is make sure that we have enough room to put down some stuff. We obviously want to make sure that we're working within our grid, so we're going to put down something, hopefully that will line up pretty well and give us enough space to work. That looks pretty good. What I should mention, you don't want to end up in that spotlight. The Sardaukar don't mess around, and they will Shrek you. So we're going to make sure that we get way out of the way. They only show up at night, but, you know, we don't want to take any chances. All right, looks like they're turning around and they're going to start searching somewhere else so we can finish putting up our house. Oh, and we want to move. Let's build a corner piece here, and we'll move our land claim beacon. Our sub-fief console we'll go put over in this corner so we can finish building. We don't need a lot of stuff that's too crazy, but we'll just we'll slap down some foundies, start putting up some walls, you know, make a little house. I'll spare you guys all of the design niceties and whatnot. We'll just get some stuff done. The building system is actually kind of intuitive. It's pretty nice. You can put up some pretty decent walls. There's more advanced building stuff that you can do. We'll actually put up a wide door if we can here. We need to get some more stone though. So what we're going to do in the meantime is what's called putting down the blueprints. We can put down prints using the blueprint system where we kind of just mark out what we're going to do. And then once we have the materials, we can knock it out. Seems simple enough. Okay, now that we have our blueprint laid out, seems like a nice simple little hut. Nothing crazy. We'll go make sure we get enough stone to finish the job. Okay, now we want to make some shade right off the rip, so that way we're not standing in the sun getting our butt kicked. So we can do this, make ourselves a little shadowy area, so that way we can stand here and build. One of the other things that I really like about the blueprint system in this game is once you lay out the blueprint, if you're the person that laid out the blueprint, your teammates can come in and finish the construction of the layout that you made as they go along. You can see this is pretty quick and pretty painless. Oh, hey, bud. Oh! Alright, look, it's a beta, okay? It's a beta preview. The game isn't finished yet, but holy man, did that freak me out. I honestly thought I was gonna die. I thought that thing was gonna come snatch my soul. Oh my lord. And obviously we're gonna need water. So, one of the things we can do is extract blood from our enemies and refine it. Of course, you can always drink it from the blood bag, but I wouldn't recommend it. Alright, I got my little pass-through made. We got doors on either side. Our little base is kind of put together, sort of, kind of. Put a little roof on here, and we're all together. Now, unfortunately, one of the things that we are going to need in order to keep this place rocking and rolling is power. See, all the bases end up having like this little force field that's on them, but the only way that the force field stays up, which protects you from the sandstorms that comes through, is power generation. So the first thing that we need to do is put up a power generator and throw in some fuel cells. Boom. Now we're powered up. Okay, now we need other utilities. We need a basic salvaged metal fabricator. We're going to need the ability to refine blood, so we need a blood purifier, and we are going to need small ore refineries, which also means that we're going to need more power, but we need more salvaged metal in order to make sure that that can happen. We're going to need more fuel cells too. Okay, so the blood purifier, this dealer right here, refines blood packs. Put that dog in, and it turns it into water. This refines ore. Need some copper ingots made, go refine or mine out some copper nodes, which are the rocky ones with them little blue chunks in them. Say you want them made, and this thing does it. So you can see after not too long, we've got 200 mils of water, and we can just hold down E and take a drink. Pow. Now we just got to find a whole lot more so that we can refine a whole lot more. But if you notice, down over here where my arrow's pointing on that gauge, it shows that I've got a little bit extra stamina now, because I've kind of reached a little threshold to give me some bonus. The more hydration you have, the more stamina you get once you meet certain thresholds. And that means that we can BG dash for longer. Okay, so now that I've given you a basic idea of kind of the startup, let me show you what happens when you get a little bit more, I guess, further along. All right, well, I've been in the middle of getting everything ready to show you the next step. We've got a sandstorm coming. So it warns you. It tells you that there's a sandstorm coming. You can zoom out, look around, kind of see where it's coming from. Let's see, what direction are we in? Southeast, and it's closing pretty quick. Here you go. So we need to get into shelter. Good thing we got our house made. And when the sandstorm comes through, everything gets, well, dusty. Oh, and a side note, if you're ever wondering, like, how much power you have left or how long it's going to last, you can just check your subvive console and it will tell you power down in 10 days. So we have 10 days of runtime on our base. Oh yeah, and now we're gonna get wasted on spice. Okay, I didn't want to spoil anything, but basically what happens is something with the story goes on, and it tells you that you have to finish the first trial of Onkel. Again, the Fremen are missing, so we're kind of trying to travel in the Fremen's footstep. And upon completion of the first trial, we'll be able to make our first still suit. The location of the first trial is actually given to us, but in subsequent trials, it becomes more puzzle-like. Remember when I said we're grabbing BG dash? This is why. Another reason. That worm's probably going to chomp us, though. Music is getting a little wild. We can keep our sprint going, though. 2, 1, zippity zip zip. And we're out. See? He's, yeah. Sorry, bud. Not this time. One of the other POIs in the game is outposts. They're this 3, I guess, like, roof icon. Outposts are really, really important. If you look at the outpost icon, it says Intel 0 out of 1. Just about every outpost in the game, Dew Gap Gateway like that one, this one over here, they all have Intel. And Intel is important because that's how you get these points for research. You definitely want to get as much of this as possible. I would highly recommend anytime you ever see one of these outposts that you go and get the Intel folder out of it. You'll be able to figure out like where they are over time pretty easily. But for now, we're going to go clear this thing. Secondarily, they're also a really good source of blood for making water. The Intel folder looks like this. You want to pick it up. In this case, we get 3. 3 intel per outpost. Kind of nice. Okay, now that we've done that, we'll continue on to our journey step. Okay, here we've arrived at our first journey step. You can see that the cave icon is a little bit different in this case. It's purple. Probably because, you know, spice or whatever. Now, there are some special things that you need to do for journey steps that have to do with finding Fremen, and I don't want to spoil this for you either, so I'm going to take the steps to go through this, and we'll get the still suit on the other side.
12 seconds later.
Okay, so in order to make a still suit, we got to get materials. Gonna grab those, and we'll get back to the fabricator, and I'll show you guys a still suit on the way out. Okay, so now we can fabricate a still suit. The still suit requires micro sandwich fabric, which comes out of these orange-looking caves. Any of these cave icons have this stuff inside of them. It's all like Fremen crafting parts that you have to find from inside of these caves specifically. But anyway, you go to the fabricator, say what you want to make, and make it. Once it's done, we'll have our very own still suit. Okay, so now it wants us to make a probe launcher and launch some probes. All right, fired off a probe. We wait for the survey to finish. Done. One of the other points of interest on the map are trade posts. They look like this. Big old towers with shining lights that go up into the sky. They're kind of hard to miss. And there's a quest, at least in this case, to go up to Griffin Reach and pick up a contract from the contract board. Okay, so technically speaking, in order to be able to get across this gap in the sand over to the eastern Vermilius and western Vermilius gaps, we need a sand bike. But in order to be able to pull that off, we're going to need materials from this Imperial testing station first. So we got to run east and go hit up the Imperial station and yeah, get some goods so that we can make a bike. See, out of the lab, there's blue parts, advanced servox and particle capacitors. There's also green parts. Those are used for armor and weapons. Plasteel microflora fiber, and mechanical parts. There are other types of parts in the game and other things that we need in order to be able to build stuff, but for now, that's all we're going to focus on. Now, I'll let you in on a little secret. There are a couple of things that are important to know. The first is, in the skills section, you can learn the skills of any profession that's available in the game, but you have to find a trainer first. If you notice on the compass rose at the very top, there's this little planet icon. That is for the planetologist, the first trainer of which can be found right here. In order to learn how to be a basic planetologist, you have to accept a contract and find something that he wants. The planetologist tree is for harvesting resources. Mostly. You have the ability to harvest more resources by hand, harvest more resources with vehicles, and it also helps reduce the amount of wear and tear that your weapons and tools take as you use them. The other thing I would recommend is picking up the quest to become a trooper, which is also found pretty close to our home base, located right here in the Haga Basin South at the trade post. Once we finish these quests, I'll show you why. But first, we need a bike. The entryway to the lab is down here, but we got to get down there first, so time to get our climbing shoes on. Labs are almost like dungeons. They don't have any zone walls or anything, but they are completely enclosed, and they usually end up having a boss of their own at the end. This is the first dungeon that we come across in the game. Kind of teaches you the ropes. The story of this place is some kind of biochemical agent got loose and started infecting everyone. As I said earlier, all these labs contain these blue crafting materials, which is what we're trying to get. This blue colored stuff. We need those in order to be able to make any of the tech vehicles, and we need them a lot. We need a lot of them, so we're going to try and collect as many as we can. Now, of course, this place won't be without its opposition, and if we come across some NPCs, they probably won't be all too kind. It looks like most everything in here had died, though, so it's possible somebody's already been here, or maybe they've changed this a little bit. There they are. Gotta keep your eye out for secrets, especially when the secret door ends up having something that you need behind it, like a quest item, perhaps. Oh, it looks like we're getting jumped. There's also little secrets around, like this ID band. Might be a good idea to bring that with us. And there's a new ID band. Probably a good idea to bring that one too. In these chests, you can get some special stuff. In this case, some spice-infused copper dust and a recipe called the Emperor's Wings. And we've circled around. You remember that blue ID band? Huh, looks like there's a bonus room. That one had a bike PSU in it. And now we can leave. And we've still got a bunch of carrying capacity left. And this one mission that we have called Wrecking Crew says to reach the wreck of the Alcyon, what happens to be right here next door. So we're going to take a little sprint over to the east and hit up that downed ship. Another good use of the BG dash. This could get a little bit hairy with the searchlight, but we might be alright. Or maybe not. Who knows? Now, the smart play would be to run over to this camp, now that we've got a mark on it, and then run over to here. But since we have BG dash, I think we're just going to chance it. And once the little tremor marks show up, that's when we're going to hit the button. See, we get pretty far. Get our sprint on and we're good. It's important to notice that you can also set up a sub-thief console right here, or even over that way. One of the best places to set up a base in this early part of the game is right in between the lab and this downed ship. So that way you can get back and forth and get parts if you need to for yourself and or your clanmates. It's also a really nice jumping off point to head across the desert over to the next area. Shipwrecks like this one are a really great place to get green parts and some special recipes, depending on the ship. But of course, you have to find the key card first, and that doesn't usually come without a fight. Solid parry. The other thing that you need to look out for on ships like this are blast doors. Like this one. This is why you always bring your mining tool with you. Analyze and tear it off at the hinges. Well, look, we found a better Mauler pistol. Might as well rock that for now. It seems we made some of these folks a little angry. We have the ID band, and we've got a special dagger. The recipe for this dagger pulls blood and puts it inside of blood bags every time you slash someone with it. It's an amazing item for the early game. Now that we've cleared both of those, we'll be on our way back to base to make our bike. But on the way back, we have to hand in those things that this guy wanted us to find. That way we can unlock Planetologist after all. There. Now we have unlocked Planetologist. Now if we go to skills, we can click on this, and we have the ability to take care of vehicle repairs. We can make a suspensor pad. The suspensor pad is actually kind of interesting. The suspensor pad basically launches us into the air. So for instance, if we wanted to get up to this this ledge and wanted a little bit of a head start, easy peasy. All right, home sweet home. Now, we got to fabricate a full set of scavenger rags, it says, or it would like us to anyway. Scavenger pants, boots, hood, gloves, chest. It also wants us to make a Karpov 38, which is like a assault rifle, if you want to think about it that way, and a Kinjal. Okay, now that we have our Kinjal and the Karpov 38, which we can use to replace our Mauler pistol, we can drop that on the ground. We also made a Hajra Leaderjohn Mark 1 and another interesting little piece called the Emperor's Wings. And the Emperor's Wings is what's called a suspensor belt, and it gives us the ability to float. Like that. Now if we double jump with this one, it does something unique. It allows us to take some vertical movement. And this will come in handy later when we combine it with another tool. But for now, we're going to make ourselves a bike. In order to make a sand bike, we need one of each of these pieces. Plus, it doesn't hurt to also end up researching the storage unit. That way we can actually carry stuff around. So if you look right here, there's this inventory Mark 1. We definitely want to research that. We also want to research the vehicle backup tool. This allows us to take our sand bike, as long as there's nothing in the inventory of it, and store it away. And we can recall it out later. Anytime, damn near anytime we want. The Leaderjohn is pretty nice. You go into the menu by hitting E on this so that you can see the inside of it, and then just start hitting extract water, and you'll see this start to fill up. This Leaderjohn holds quite a bit, so it's a really, really good idea to carry this. One of these blue bars fills a third of your water bar. You can either open up your inventory and hold F to drink, or just hotkey it like that. Now every time you end up hitting the button, you drink some water. All right, we got our sand bike. Just had to make a welder, slap it all together. By the way, you can pull things apart with the welder too. All you have to do is hold the button down until the circle's done, and it detaches. It doesn't break it or anything. It just ends up in your inventory. If you want to put it back, you just select what you want and put it back on. In this case, like I said, I like having storage, but you can also make a back seat so that you can bring around a friend if you really want to. But we already fueled it up. All that's left to do is take it for a spin. Now, the sand bike isn't going to keep you from getting eaten by a worm. You can just move a little bit faster. So you still have to gauge when exactly it is that you decide that you're going to cut out. It also isn't going to save you from the starter car chilling in those ships. And if that spotlight catches you, it's going to call down a whole squad that's going to try and murder you right wherever it is that you're standing. So you got to be careful for that stuff. When you're trying to look out for worms, you're looking for big dust clouds like that one. That means that a worm is either right there or moving through. You really don't want to ride up into that. So you kind of got to wait for them to clear out. Anyway, I guess we'll try our first trip across and see if we get eaten. Notice right there, actually, is a worm. We just got bucked by one. So we kind of have to wait. Need them to move out of the way, you know? Luckily, we also have a couple of survey probes, and we're going to need those, because we definitely want to see where we're going. But where we really want to end up is over there by that hammer-headed rock. All right, let's see if we can make a trip across now. Oh, this is going to be close. we might get eaten. No, I think we're gonna be all right. Oh boy, he is close though, huh? Definitely don't want to get shot by Shia-Lud. Okay. Well, we've made it across the Vermilius Gap into Western Vermilius Gap, and where we are now introduces a new form of hazard in the desert called drum sand. Drum sand is this stuff right here, these little red marks in the desert sand. What those red marks do is they make very, very loud reverberating noises. Kind of like if you ever watched any of the Dune movies where they end up hitting the sand and it's making like that hollow thumping sound, kind of like a drum, right? So if I start moving into this, you'll start hearing it. That right there. That is drum sand. Drum sand calls the worms to you. Drum sand we don't like. You don't want to hang out in that too much. The second thing that is introduced here is iron. Now iron isn't something that I can mine with this improvised cut array. It's not effective. We have to make a new one. New ones cost copper. So in order to be able to effectively utilize iron, we need a whole lot more copper to make a new cut array so that we can harvest the iron instead. And there are a ton of interesting POIs that will be discovered along the way. This is just scratching the surface on Arrakis. If I'm being completely honest, there is an easy 200 hours of discovery just in these areas alone. The whole Haga Basin area, all of this, is huge. It's a ton to discover, a ton to explore, and it definitely will keep you busy. And as long as it's something that you guys want to see, I will definitely keep making more and more content surrounding this game, giving you guys tips, tricks, and all kinds of other things in between, from fast starts to places to harvest the best minerals and where to find things that you need in order to make your base bigger or make better vehicles, and the quickest way to go about obtaining them. Oh, and it's also a good idea to make sure that you store your vehicle just like that. Easy peasy. Anyway, thank you guys so much for coming and checking out this video. I'm looking forward to bringing you way more Dune content in the near future. Thank you very, very much to the folks over at FunCom for sponsoring this video. You guys are awesome. Thank you everybody for watching. Thank you for lending me your eyeballs, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.